So welcome to Dear Dietitian. We have the fabulous Professor Tim Crowe here to talk to us today. I'm going to nail him with some really hard clinical questions. So these are the questions that we've got. So Tim, how have you managed to remain passionate about dietetics for as long as you have? And has there been a time or a thought at which you've ever thought, no, that's it, I'm out, I'm done?
Well, I guess as someone that went into dietetics after following another career in research, I was already interested in nutrition, and I still am. I just love learning about it. I like that every day I add more to my knowledge by reading about research and communicating to it. So what keeps me going is that nutrition is so relevant and personal to all of us. Most people are very interested in it. And probably the only time that I get frustrated perhaps is maybe a bit too much involvement in social media when you do come across a lot of the craziness in the world. So no, there hasn't been any time that I wanted to get out of it. I think for me it's a wonderful career to go into. So it's said that if you choose a job or a career that you love, you never need to work again. And I think for many of us to work in this profession, that's how we feel about it, because we can have so many diverse things that we can do. And we can make some real impact on people's lives in the areas that we choose to follow.
And even in the area that you work in, obviously you're not sort of having that one-on-one client contact, but still definitely making a greater impact. As you said, with social media, at times it can be frustrating, but I think it can also be quite liberating and certainly supports the key messages that we obviously as dietitians are trying to do on a one-on-one basis. You're doing so more globally.
That's right. Well, on the same team doing it in a different way. And it's interesting, I know a lot of dietitians start in clinical, but then they move into more of a public health role because they want to have a bigger impact. So really it makes no difference whether it's public health, whether it's communication, no matter what you're doing, as long as you're getting a sense of meaning and involvement and worth in what you're doing, then that's the area that you should be in.
Do you think that takes time? I guess there's a lot of pressure on young people really these days to know exactly what they want. They walk out of uni and they go, yeah, that's it, this is what I've got to do. Or they think that one job that they take has to be perfect, not just a job. Would you agree with that? Or is it more like you just kind of need to find what that is over time, and whether it means you work in, a crappy job for a while or something that's not your complete ideal, whether that is actually a realistic approach?
It's certainly the approach you should take. If you're looking for work, particularly as a new grad, you should consider all options with a view that this is the area I'd like to get into in the near future. And then you can still be working towards that. What are the things you need to do? What are the skills you need to develop? What are the networks and contacts you need to develop? And that gives you time to pursue those. And if you're really not sure what you want to do, well, there's, still working as a dietitian in some capacity is important, at least for your currency and your CV. So you still remain engaged in the profession.
Yeah, absolutely. On that point as well, in relation to social media, I was going to ask you. You say that your the only gripe that you have is the dealing with people behind screens. Do you have an approach to manage, I suppose, the trolls that are floating about, those people that have very passionate views about particular nutrition topics?
Yeah, I've learned to take lots of deep breaths and hold them for a long time over the years. Actually a viable strategy because it stops you reposting. If you'll just get sucked down into the world if you try and engage them. I'm really fortunate. I have so few what I consider trolls or even people that are passionately disagree with me. But many people can see that I come from a perspective of here is my interpretation of it, but I also respect your interpretation without inflaming the situation. So in nutrition, there are some very passionate viewpoints about food nutrition. And my view has changed over the years that just because I've got all this research behind me doesn't mean I'm right. For two things. First of all, is that nutrition research is very difficult to do and get clear and cut findings, particularly in dietary, whole diets and disease. And you cannot deny if someone follows a particular diet and they feel better, they've got more energy, they've lost weight, all these things are improving. I'm not going to deny that. That's fantastic. That's good for them. Knowing that if it's more fad diet, then in 6 months' time, it's unlikely they'll still be doing it. But if it's working for them at the moment, that's fantastic. So acknowledging them as a human, acknowledging what they're doing right, but still putting case forward of this is my perspective based upon all this research of why I communicate this to a broader population, rather than just, I'm going to communicate this because it's worked for me, therefore everybody else should do it. And that's where I do take issue that people want the whole dietary guidelines rewritten just because they've followed a low carb diet or a paleo diet or whatever. That's great for you, but it doesn't work for everybody. So acknowledging the variation of us in human beings and how we eat and how we respond to food.